जने मैडम प्रीति ठाकुर कह के जॉइन करछंती बाहर फर्स्ट
Okay,
टाइम।
okay. Okay, thank you so much. Welcome, madam. Recording start hegalani.
Thank you very much.
Okay, madam.
Yes.
Sure. Recording started. So, ame samaste mute he jiba. Jai Jagannath. Good evening. नीलाद्रु शंख मध्ये सतदल कमले रत्न सिंहासनस्थं सर्वालंकारयुक्तं नतवनशेषं संयुक्तं चाग्रदे भद्राय वामभागे रथचरणयुतं ब्रह्मरुद्रेन्द्र सेव्यं देवानां सारमेशं सुजन परिवृतं ब्रह्मदारु स्मरामि परम कारुणिक अनंत कोटि ब्रह्मांडर मौड़मणि कोटि कोटि ओडियांकर हृदयर आराध्य देवता समग्र विश्वचराचर स्रष्टा आनंद कंद परमानंद सचिदानंद अखिल रसघन विग्रह विश्व वेदनार वैद्य देवाधिदेव श्री श्री जगन्नाथंकर चरण कमल रे कोटि कोटि दंडवत। Today we are celebrating the 143 national level live webinar, which is organized by the ROVER Ranger Unit of Maharshi College of Natural Law. Although today is 12th March 2023, but we are celebrating this day as our occasion for the International Working Women's Day. So today, as all of you know, the title being Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. So on this auspicious day, I, Dr. Namita Pattanaik, being the host and convener, welcome all of you to this Google platform. Respected Principal, Dr. Nalini Prabha Mohapatra ji, the President of this webinar. REKHA State Chief Commissioner, Dr. KP Mr. Sir, the Vice President, Bharat Scouts and Guide, BSG India. Esteemed Professor, Dr. NAVANEETA, RATH, the Department of Sociology, Head and Professor, UTKAL University, Bani Vihar. The center around which we are all culture. She is the chief speaker today. Mrs. RASHMI REKHA SAMANTARAY, the assistant teacher, Police Lane High School, Puri, who will propose a vote of thanks. Miss Ifsita Mahanti, the student, who will enchant Veda. Master Dibbansu Padi, who will enchant the sloka. And all my dear friends, my philosophers and my guide, all viewers, those from Orissa and from different corners of our country. I welcome all of you to the Google board, particularly the dignitaries. Let's start our program with welcoming our guest. May I pin up, madam? Sure that. Okay. We'll salute to her. May I request all of you, Shadhan, and salute. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now, I would like to welcome ma'am virtually. These are the ladies and of Maharshi College of Natural Law. And today's webinar dedicated to all the ladies of Maharshi College of Natural Law. I extend my heartfelt thanks to all of these ladies, those who have extended their all possible helps to conduct all these 143 webinars in this Google platform. Thank you, dear madams. Now it's time to welcome NAVANEETA madam. I have my exalted pleasure to introduce the great women of our time, the versatile educationist, the loving teacher, the caring mother, and very sincere daughter. Very voracious reader, I can say, and very effective and dynamic head of the Department of Sociology in UTKAL University with different administrative capacity, leading a peaceful, joyous life and always smiling, a very committed person to her work, being the professor at very young age. I think about 20, 25 years old at that time. And she is very dynamic at that time. And she worked hard for the all-round development of the students, the faculty of her department, and the different department which she has undertaken, like the director of human resource development of the UTKAL University Center, and like the director of self-financing and the director of women study. All this she has handled so nicely. If you can see him very closely, you can well imagine how she could. She is a exemplary teacher, a educator at the university level. To her credit, she wrote many books. She has attended many national, international convocations, seminars, all that things, which is part of her life. But she has been working at UTKAL University as also the director of self-financing courses. But what I exactly want to tell you, she has did her postdoctoral in sociology from the German University. Her area of interest is very important for all of us because she's interested for sociology of gender, sociology of development, sociology of environment, and climate change. So it's really great honor to get such a wonderful guest today evening. She started her career as lecturer in sociology in 1989, I think, from Rajani College. Then went up to Navkrishna Chaudhary Center for Development Study at the Women's College, consultant of UNDP, then BJP Junior College, BNAB's Autonomous College. Then she became the reader in 2002 and professor in sociology in 8th June 2010. This is very, very important day for her and for all of us because we are her classmate, batchmate, and we are very, very close friend. At a very young age, she became the professor, and she has given guidance to many students. Uh, about 25 students now they are doing MPhil. They have already received the MPhil award, and the career is going on. There are 8 students, they have got PhD. 2 of them are already awarded, and 6 of them as on today. She has given me very, very particular she is. So she has given me her CV yesterday. From that, I found it is 30 pages all about, very shortly. And out of that, I found 2 awarded PhD and 6 they have submitted, and she has recorded all the names, all the address of our students. So that's why I told you she's a loving teacher. She has got a very, very close relationship with each one of them. That's the thing. That's the real picture of a teacher. And she has edited 6 books, 8 textbooks, and her special interest, as you know, the gender equality. She has delivered many, many talks about this in many national and international forums. Having 32 years of professional experience of teaching and research, you will see she is the member of so many committees, and she is the member of so many government departments, all that things. But what is more added to her CV, that is, she's very silent worker. She never told such things, never propaganda about her activities, but we observe because we are very close to her during different times and during different programs. As the administrative capacity, she is continuing till date. Director of School Women's Study, Coordinator for Center for Excellency, Director for Self-Financing, all that things. But above all, she is doing a lot of work for our government, our society at the same time. See, she is a member of Board of Studies of BJP Autonomous College, member of Board of Governors of Vishwas, then member of Organ Transplant Committee of Kalinga Hospital, member of Internal Ethics Committee of AIMS, member of Internal Ethics Committee of Kalinga Hospital, member Stem Cell Research Ethics Committee of AIMS, member of the governing body of Sikha Sandhan, Chancellor's nominee to the Academic Council of Ramadevi Women's College. To her credit, this is a wonderful job. And member DRC Niger. Besides, she is also as a writer, become the member of the editorial board and reviewer of the search, that is the book of DDC, our DDC in Banivia, Sociological Bulletin, E-Journal, Indian Sociology Society, International Journal of Epidemiology, Journals of Social Science, then honorary editorial board member in the newly launched journal, that is Development for Prosperity. So besides, she is also the member of OBC Commission Odisha, and she is the reviewer and mentor for the project submitted and approved under HEC, that is Higher Education Cell. So what I want to say you, she has got wide experience about this gender equality program. So today we'll listen to her, not only because she has some experience, but she has some solution for that. We know we are having the objective of today's webinar, so as to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, because it is one of our sustainable goals, fifth goal of sustainable development goal, that is out of 17, it is number 5. And to observe the International Working Women's Day. Why I have told Working Women's Day? Because she's also a lady, she's also working, and how difficult it is for a lady to achieve such a goal during her career. So she will inspire us definitely. Prior to that, I'll request Ipsita Mahanti. Are you there, Ipsita?
Yes,
Before,
ma'am.
yeah, please start with Vedpat, and then our smallest viewers, you will enchant one sloka, and then we'll start. So over to Ipsita.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Om. 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 गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिः श्रीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ओम् यश्छन्दसां वृषभो विश्वरूपः छन्दोभ्योऽध्यमृतात् सम्बभूव समेन्द्रो मेधया स्पृणोतु अमृतस्य देवधारणो भूयासम् शरीरं मे विचर्षणम् जिह्वा मे मधुमत्तमाम् कर्णाभ्याम्बूरिविश्रुवम् ब्रह्मणः कोशोऽसि मेधया पिहितः श्रुतं मे गोपाय मेधान् देवी जुषमाणा न आगाद्विस्वाचि भद्रा सुमनस्यमानाम् त्वया जुष्टानुदमाना दुरुक्तान् बृहद्वदेम विदधे सुवीराः त्वया जुष्ट ऋषिर्भवति देवि त्वया ब्रह्मा गतश्री ऋतत्वया त्वया जुष्टश्चित्रं विन्दते वसुसानो जुषस्त्वद्रभिणो न मेधे मेधा महेन्द्रो ददातु मेधां देवी सरस्वती मेधा मे अश्विनाम्बुबावा धत्तां पुष्करश्रजाम् अप्सरासु च या मेधा गन्धर्वेषु च यन्मनः दैवी मेधा सरस्वती सामान्मेधा सुरभिर्जुसतागस्वाहा आमान्मेधा सुरभिर्विश्वरूपा हिरण्यवर्णा जगती जगम्याम् ऊर्जस्वती पयसा पिन्वमाना सामान् मेधा सुप्रतीकाजुसन्ताम् मयि मेधा मयि प्रजा मय्यग्निस्तेजो ददातु मयि मेधा मयि प्रजां मयीन्द्र इन्द्रियं ददातु मयि मेधा मयि प्रजा मयि सूर्यो व्राजो ददातु हंसाय विद्महे परमहंसाय धीमहि तन्नो हंस प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
To maintain the gender equality, a small sloka. I'll request the Bansu, the youngest viewer of our board, enchant, and then we'll start. Yes, the Bansu.
नमस्कार मैम.
Yes, namaste.
वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा. ओम जा देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै नमो नमो. ओम जा देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै नमो नमः. ओम कदाचित् कालन्दी तटविपिन संगीत करवो मुदाभिरी नारी वदन कमलास्वाद मधुप रमा शंभु ब्रह्मा मरपदी गणेशार्चित पदो जगन्नाथ स्वामी नयन पथगामी भवतु मे. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, when a brilliant scholar is with us, so let us take the full advantage of the situation. Now, over to Professor NAVANEETA to discuss about the innovation technology for gender equality.
So thank you, Dr. Namita Madam. A very pleasant evening to all the members who are present in this platform. And we have been very nicely connected on a holiday, but all the working women, for all the working women, it's a very pleasant day, and we have all met on this digital platform. So, esteemed principal of Maharshi College of Natural Law, my very dear friend and convener of this webinar series, Dr. Namita Pattanaik Madam, all the esteemed audience who are present, because each one of you, you have your own weight. I have nothing to say more. And Namita was exaggerating because we are friends. She was exaggerating about me. But one line, I can self-introduce myself that I am a woman and I am a working woman, which is the plight of many of us. And the basic category that I belong to, that is one of the binaries, gender binaries that we are having in this society, that is a woman. And when we talk about a working woman, our eyes actually broaden, but it is nothing like. And there is a very nice saying that what men can do, women can do, and what men cannot do, woman can do. So that is God has given woman the quality, exceptional quality of reproduction, and for which woman is the sustainer of the society. If you talk about society, if you talk about family, if you talk about an organization, at the helm of affairs, there is a woman. And the woman who comes out of home is not a working woman. For me, all the women who are brought into and who have seen the light of this world, they are working. Because if you see the time series data, the time use data, and the trend, if you see, women have been working since the inception of the society. So all the women are workers. No woman remains as a non-worker, but I am sorry to say that our national enumerations do not count that, because the care work that the woman gives, it is never remunerated, and non-remunerated work is not given the designation or the labeling of work. So we say that the percentage of women, working women, is very less in comparison to men. No, the percentage of women and the hours women devote is much more than what men do. So for us, we by birth, we are born with the working thing. Nobody gives us a work. We adopt the work for ourselves. So all of us are working women. So let us celebrate our Women's Day, that we all are working, and none of us is a non-working or a parasite on the other gender or on the society. So while Namita Madam was telling me, she told me that it is on the basis of the International Women's Day, and International Women's Day actually coincided with our celebration, that is Holi. So it has been extended and the dates have shifted, but the spirit has remained the same. So first of all, I want to tell that this entire lecture, I will be telling how this year's theme suits to the concept of gender equality, how it can be a booster to gender equality. And I will be telling why this International Women's Day, and what is the theme of the present Women's Day, and why UN has adopted this theme, and where women are positioned today, and how the digital divide actually deters gender equality in society. I have just given you an example where women by birth, they are workers. We do not count them as workers. The national census underrates them, which is a big symbol of gender inequality and how it can boost gender equality. So with all this, and I will go in this way, so I will be telling that Women's Day, as we know, and my madam is telling International Working Women's Day, I will be telling Women's Day because all of us are workers, and celebration of Women's Day should not be ornamental for us. And when we are celebrating it, we should take the real spirit of it, and it should be a true salutation to the every woman from home to public or professional life, and championing their commitment and contribution to society. I hope everyone will agree with me. A woman's commitment has no match. Her contribution to society has no match, because she is the person who actually sustains the society over a period of time. And International Women's Day is commemorated to give our homage to the great women who have built us today, from our own grandmother, mother, to the great women for whom the society is on its march ahead. I will just take a second's break. I am just coming with a water and I will just continue. Namita madam, I will just bring a glass of water and I will continue.
Yeah. Okay. May I request Priti ma'am? Can you just introduce yourself, please?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, I am Mrs. Preeti Thakur. I am from, I was born and brought up in Kota, Rajasthan. And I am an English teacher and a personality development trainer. I teach the students of all age how to communicate in English.
Okay.
And as far as I can, I try to develop their personality too.
Okay.
And on this Women's Day, as you said, working women.
Yeah.
So a small classification that I can see, I can explain and my own views. Like it is a duty of a working woman to help the women who are not working and give them their hand to come up and to pace together with the society, right?
Right.
And one more thing I would like to say, do you all understand Hindi?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So see, there is one more thing. The word is Purusharth. I think now today the time has come जब पुरुष में स्थितार्थ दिखना चाहिए और औरत में पुरुषार्थ दिखना चाहिए और दोनों को बराबर मान्यता मिलनी चाहिए. I feel like that. मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि सिर्फ मेल की ही जागीर नहीं है कि वो अपने आप को पुरुषार्थ से भरा हुआ पाए. मेरी ये चाहत है कि हर औरत में वो ताकत हो कि वो कमाए, वो अपने घर का पूरा पिलर बने, वो डिसीजन मेकिंग रोल्स में आ सके, वो सिर्फ पीछे फॉलो ना करे. और इसी तरह से एक मेल यदि वो इमोशनल होता है, यदि वो भी थोड़ा सा रो लेता है, यदि वो भी भावुक हो जाता है, तो उसकी मर्दानगी कम नहीं होगी. ये समझने की जरूरत है. Thank you. This is the small thing. Madam has come now. She will pursue. Yeah.
Okay. That's very nice listening to you, Priti madam. So this day, International Women's Day, as madam told, is celebrated to to overcome the gender divide and the great divide on where we find. And this gender divide is not only in India, not only among us. If you find, it is found across communities, across culture, across countries, and across continents. I will give you a very good example here. For a long time, because I was a student of sociology and I was studying gender discrimination, I was thinking that in India there is gender discrimination and the Western world, it doesn't have any gender discrimination. When I was doing my PhD, a postdoctoral in Germany, my professor told me that you have to go to the old age homes. You should talk to the women over there. And when I went to the old age homes, I heard the sorrowful story of these women who told me that many of them were the war widows and war deserted or war widows. Why they were the war widows? Because they were very much frowning upon Hitler, who was an imperialist, and Hitler always wanted to keep the women behind the iron curtains, and he wanted to take the men and the boys into the war field. And they said that we are really, and many of them, and one day I will be telling you a very good story. There was a lady, her name was Frau Kappel, means Mrs. Kappel. She invited me to her home, and I was a little bit hurried because the early morning I had to leave for London. So she told me, if you are going to London, you meet my husband. He's a war prisoner there. But this lady, poor lady, didn't know that her husband had already died. So many women I found in Germany, they were war widows, war prisoners who had married the Indian men after that, after a long time. When the reconstruction started in the post-Second World War period, many Indians had gone during that time because that country was falling short of men, and the men were taken from other countries. So they were telling that the Indian men are really nice in comparison to the Western men, and the Western men, they were frowning upon the Western men. They were telling they were chauvinists, and they were underrating the women like anything. But they were telling Indian men are much better than the Western men, because we find, even my professor always used to tell that I find that she was staying with her fourth friend, because the three of the previous had left her, and she was so astonished to see that how two of you actually complement each other and you help each other in your work and you understand each other. What Preeti madam was telling, we are not contrary to each other. We should think we are not competitors, we are not contrary, we are complements to each other, and that feeling should be there on the International Women's Day. And if we see, this International Women's Day actually reminds us the battle women fight in their everyday life, and the battle they fought for their rights, for their recognition and space in society. I will give you again, I will bring into my discussion, you know, we talk about human rights. It was in 1995 when Hillary Clinton was invited to the Beijing 4th Women's Conference. It was a big conference where women from different parts of the world, nook and corner, had assembled together. And Hillary Clinton, in her opening speech, said, "Women's rights are human rights." But how many of you know, if we see the 30 chapters of the human rights, they were actually framed by a woman. She was none else than the widow of Roosevelt, that is Eleanor Roosevelt. When women could imagine the 30 human chapters of the human rights, they had framed the human rights. Women are not in a position to enjoy their human rights. Can we just know the sorrowful thing? And all of you might have read many times in Times of India, and you might have seen in the TV discussions when your Sudha Murthy, she tells, she was the first woman graduate engineer from Pune University. And during that time, Telco had made an advertisement that for its soft floor engineers, and it was written that males should apply, and it was totally written males should apply. Then she wrote a letter to Tata, Ratan Tata himself, and Jamshedji Tata, that why male, why not female? So then Jamshedji Tata invited his board meeting, and he said that no, this is a complaint that has come from a lady. So all the members of the governing body, in exclusion to Ratan Tata, told, no, ladies are not meant for the subfloor. They cannot manage the subfloor. It will be having shift duties, and it is a mechanical division which makes the big trucks. So how come we will invite women? So nothing has happened with the advertisement. But Jamshedji Tata told, no, let us invite. And if we don't find her, to be very competent, we can reject her there. Why to reject it from the advertisement itself? So when Sudhamurthy came, her interview was so stunning and so fabulous that Jamshedji Tata was actually moved, and he for the first time recruited, and from that period the women had an entry. See how the ice is breaking. So as madam told, we have to, as working women, we have to lend support and we have to develop ourselves. No one will pave the path for us. We have to defreeze in the very icy path. We have to melt the ice, and this is the day where all of us should take a place to do that. So with this, again, we will continue that the International Day is about valuing oneself, because as women, we sometimes undervalue ourselves. The undervaluation that is given to us in the society, that becomes so intrinsic, that becomes so much internalized by us, we start undervaluing ourselves. We fail to realize our full potential. I told you the popular saying, what men can do, women can do. What men cannot do, women can do. So we have got the potential. So why not to use that potential? It is no one will tap our potential. We ourselves have to tap our own potential, and we have to empower ourselves. We are telling the government is empowering the women. It is really a certain thing. No one can empower. Power should come from within, what Naila Kabir says. So no one can give us a power, superimpose a power on us. So we have to empower ourselves. So this is the way. So International Women's Day is a very, very important day where we have to understand ourselves. We have to also value ourselves. We have to know about our potential, and we have to empower ourselves. So if we see as Namita madam told, International Working Women's Day, it is really very important. I again attest to it, because the International Women's Day came from the working women themselves, and it originated with a very radical background in 1908, and when 15,000 women marched through the New York City demanding shorter hours of work, better pay, and voting rights. Because during that period also, so the women were into the sweatshops. What Bandana Siva is telling today, sweatshops. They were not given a very cozy environment to work, and why women were taken? Because they were tuned to a culture of silence. You oppress them, you exploit them, they won't open their mouth. And for the first time in 1908, they opened their mouth and they started demanding shorter hours of work, better pay, and giving them voting rights. They were not allowed to go for trade unionism. They were allowed, so they started their voice for this. From culture of silence came the culture of voice. They wanted to voice their own grievances, and this was spearheaded by the Socialist Party of America. And in accordance with a declaration by the Socialist Party of America, the first National Women's Day was observed across United States of America on 28th February 1909. So the first, it was observed in 9, though the seed for it was sown in 1908. The National Women's Day in New York was proposed by the labor activist Teresa Malikil, and to commemorate the citywide protest of garment workers. Women were essentially kept as garment workers. Again, the gender stereotype comes here. Women means they will be in teaching, in nursing, in frontline offices, and in garment factories doing all the odds, and men will be positioned in the risk positions where they will be paid higher. And so these things I started, and later that year, drawing inspiration from the American socialists, the German delegates proposed the idea of Women's Day, though they didn't specify any day when this day will be observed. So in this context, women continue to celebrate the National Women's Day on the last Sunday of February until 1913. And in 1910, the second International Conference of Working Women was held in Copenhagen with 100 women. There were only 100 women from 17 countries representing various unions. Women were gradually unionizing by that time, and socialist parties and working women's clubs. It included 3 women from the Finland, who were the Finnish, who were the representatives of the people into the Finnish parliament. So if we see today, Finland is at the top of, you find the Nordic countries are doing pretty well in the Human Development Index and in the Gender Development Index, because they have developed since 1910, when 3 women were represented into the Finnish parliament. So this conference unanimously decided to celebrate the International Women's Day across countries. And following this decision, agreed at Copenhagen in Denmark in 1911, the International Women's Day was celebrated for the first time in some European countries like Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland on 19th of March. So 19th of March became the day for the European Women's Day. So American Women's Day was February, then 19th March was the European Women's Day, and more than 1 million women and men attended the International Women's Day rallies that campaigned for women's rights, for vote, to be trained, to hold public offices, and to end discrimination. This is the first time the working women could launch a protest which was spearheaded through campaigns, and more items were added to their agenda. The United Nations began celebrating the International Women's Day in 1975. You must be knowing that we had the International Women's Year in 1975, and the decade following from 76 to 85 as the International Women's Day decade, and it was celebrated by the United Nations, and all the nations, member states, both large and small, were also following that. In December 1977, the General Assembly adopted a resolution proclaiming the United Nations Day for Women's Rights and International Peace, and the UN General Assembly declared March 8 as the International Women's Day in support of women's rights and global peace. Since then, United Nations has been commemorating this day by establishing and by floating a theme every year. And the theme of this year's International Women's Day, that was 8th March 2023, is DIGIT-ALL, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. So this theme is aligned with the priority theme for the upcoming 67th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, Innovation and Technological Change, and Education in Digital Age for Achieving Gender Equality and the Empowerment of All Women and Girls. So the focus of this year is to explore that how digital inequality impacts the social positioning of women. We were suffering from gender inequality, but this gender inequality is accentuated when there is digital illiteracy and when there is a digital divide. So digital divide is now detected as a precondition for gender divide. So if we can overcome digital divide, then we can overcome gender divide. And the UN Women's Gender Snapshot Report 2022 has found that the women's exclusion from the digital world has caused a loss of $1 trillion for various countries because of the digital illiteracy. Women are not brought into the work or what the production, the GDP, GNP, when we are talking about women's work, that is connected with what is called GDP and GNP. They are telling because of digital illiteracy, many times women are displaced from their work. I will give you one or two examples here. Way back in 2001, around the early years of 2000, when at that time globalization was taking momentum, there was digitalization. Many of the banks, my dear friends, you may be agreeing with me, you know, that because of the introduction of computerization, many women lost their jobs because they were not that skilled, or they were not given the skill to take up the training and to continue their work. The first displacement, and there was the golden handshake scheme, and women were the worst vulnerable in that golden handshake scheme, because the organizations told you do not have the digital ability, so we just bid a farewell to you from the organization. So leopard digital divide or digital illiteracy is a major cause for gender inequality. By now, we have got a plethora of conventions on women and policies for women. And we have been celebrating International Women's Day for almost 45 years, I will say. But a glance at our achievements on women's progress establishes that the world has made unprecedented advances in terms of gender parity. What our grandmothers were suffering, the granny's time and our time is different. No doubt it is different. Not only for us, wherever you find, the generation is changing and gender parity is coming. No doubt about it. We cannot say, we cannot be totally pessimistic that there is no gender parity. But absolute equality is still a myth, I will say. Absolute gender equality, can anyone suggest me on this platform that there is a society, there is a community, there is a country where there is absolute gender equality? Absolute gender equality is still a myth. And when we are talking about working women, I will cite a very good example here, because all of us are experiencing this in our everyday life, that when we go to work, we take another burden with us. We are doubly burdened. Women are taken as the beasts of burden. So therefore, they take the home care as well as the office, because in the office no one will spare that you are a woman, you are doing the home front work, so you may be relaxed. And that I will say no woman should claim at all that I need a leave or on this ground, because we have to assert, we have to create our own space. So we are doubly burdened, because the understanding is still missing that a woman who is working, the man who is working, they can do many of the things. But we have got our gender stereotypes. A man, this is a man's work, this is a woman's work, and there can be no reversal. But there is every possibility of a reversal, and a time has come for, because we have got so many males. You can champion this, be an ambassador of this, and you can pass on the message to your community. Start a practice, and charity begins at home. Once you start, you will see the younger generation will come up with this habit. And thus, if we see the Global Gender Report 2022 at Davos, every year the Global Gender Report is produced, and the World Economic Forum produces this report, and all the people who are very much interested in gender studies will look forth for this report. And it says it will take 132 years to reach gender parity. 132 years means, I think 4 generations will be over, but we may not be having gender parity. And only 68.1% of the gap is filled till now. And South Asia will take the longest time to overcome and to reach gender parity, which is estimated to be 197 years, 2 centuries, almost 2 centuries, and across 146 countries. If you see, covered by the 2022 this gender gap report, it is found health and survival gender gap has been closed by 95.8% because of the interventions of the governments in the developing countries. Educational attainment by 94.4%, because we can also thank the Alma-Ata Convention here. We can thank the Dakar Convention here. Because of their interventions, this has been possible. Economic participation opportunity by 60.3%, and political empowerment by 22%. Political empowerment is at the least, because people think if we politically empower women, they will be carrying a voice with them, which will be dangerous and catastrophic for this world. So now important is political empowerment. Today, also globally, legal restrictions have kept 2.7 billion women away from the accessing a job of one's own choice. When even we are also working, when our daughters say, I was yesterday sharing my experience with my friend Namita, and I was telling, I don't want my daughter to be in the corporate race. I want her to do a PhD and come to teaching, because where the family balance can be maintained. So she was objecting to this to me. But even being a working woman, I know, because this is the plight of every working woman. As we are experienced and mature, the young girls do not understand, but that will become in the long run, that becomes very much detrimental to their peace and tranquility. So therefore, if we see that the less than 25% parliamentarians are women as of 2019, 1 in 3 women experience gender-based violence, and digital gender gap is widening the economic and social inequalities. And if we come to digitalization, why digitalization has been given so much importance? Digitalization became the climax of media revolution, sweeping the world in the period of globalization. So global digitalization refers to the adoption and the use of digital technology to produce, to process, and to disseminate information. Without digital entering into the digital world, the entire information world, you are in an islandic position. You cannot trod into the world of information. And this process became the second wave of industrialization. After industrialization brought mechanization, digitalization has brought the information revolution. So I say this is the second wave of industrial revolution, and this galvanized the entire world economy. Now we are in a knowledge economy, and the knowledge economy needs that everyone should be digitally empowered. Empowerment need not be in terms of money, it need not be in terms of power, but it needs to be in terms of information. When we are not properly informed, we feel ourselves very much impoverished and pauperized. Young children are there. If some young boys and girls are there, you see, when you lack information, you cannot stand in a discussion for 5 minutes or more. Therefore, we keep ourselves aloof. And once we keep ourselves aloof, we become receding from the mainstream of the society. Today, digitalization has spread its tentacles to various facets of human life, starting from media and communication to healthcare, from retailing and manufacturing to the system of governance. I want to tell you here that even for me, I am giving so much lecture on digitalization. I am not in a position to do my auto sweeping and the booking, the ordering and all this, while our children are very prompt, and with their left and right hands, they are on their tips. But we, as an older generation, we have such mental blocks that I cannot learn it. But this is the defeatism that I am accepting, that is not required for the younger generations, I will say. Innovation in e-communications, in e-commerce and e-governance bear ample testimony of the rapid process of digitalization. The government of India introduced e-governance, and the sarpanches who were very much digitalized, they performed very well, and the development was actually expedited in their localities. And therefore, if and people could send complaint, thanks to Chandrababu Naidu, when he introduced e-governance in Andhra Pradesh on a very pioneering basis, and people started giving their complaints directly to the government, and the development took a very faster turn. So this is the way in which, and you might have read Modiji's, that one article came up in the front page of Times of India that adorned the media headlines. In 2 rupees, they took crores of production unit, that was Maruti. During that period in Singur, there was protest against the installation of the Maruti that is industry. And Narendra Modi just put a coin of 1 rupees and he made a telephone call and took it to Gujarat. And you see why the growth rate is very high in Gujarat. Foreign direct investment, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra, they are the lead states, and states like Odisha are again in the hinterlands because of this. So digitalization is the need of the hour. And within Asia Pacific region, India exhibits a huge gender gap in internet uses. Indian women encounter digital divide in terms of their access to digital devices and knowledge about their use. We have got access, but we do not have the knowledge about their use. Things that are needed is, one is availability, the second one is accessibility, the third one is the affordability. Availability is there for us, accessibility is there for us, then affordability is there for us. But so far as utility is concerned, I carry a smartphone, but I do not reap the 100% utility of it. That is where I fall short, and that is the plight of many women like me, being an urban woman, being a professor in the university, and what to talk about the women of the rural pockets and the tribal hinterlands of this country. So data procured and produced by varying agencies present diverse data on gender-based digital divide. And the only uniformity all reports carry with them is that women are on the hind side of the use of digital devices, and they have very poor digital literacy. Literacy has come in India, but digital literacy is again another thing. So we always have some restrictions, and digital literacy is one of the handicaps that we are now having. And this gender gap emerges only when 15% women access internet services vis-a-vis 25% women. And further, the ownership of mobile phones grapples 15% women in the country, while 33% women are not habituated to the use of internet on mobile as compared to men. And in 2020, estimates indicate the smartphone ownership was only 25% of the total adult female population, whereas 41% of the adult men use smartphones. So a study by Vodafone Foundation found boys are 1.5 times more likely than girls to own a mobile phone. Again, the gender divide comes here, the gender disparity, because we, as an Indian mindset, is such that they spend for their sons they hardly spend for their daughter. Thanks to those who have only daughter syndrome, they think that their daughters are like their sons, but that like their sons, I don't like that statement
They
also.
are also.
They are our children. So a son is a child, a daughter is a child. Daughters should not be treated as sons, because daughters are daughters. We should champion their womanhood. So when there is a boy and a girl in the family, the weighing starts, and the weight is more towards the son, and the son is given a mobile and the girl is not given a mobile. And the 1.8 times women have the likely to have smartphones, which the girls do not have. The gender-based digital divide is accentuated and sustained through a triple foundation. What are they? Rural-urban divide. In urban areas, girls are using smartphones, but come to the rural areas, their rural counterparts are devoid of it. And income-led divide, because in the families which do not have an issue of income, their girls may be having a digital phone easily, but the families where there is still economic impoverishment, then people do not get a square meal, they cannot provide a digital device to their daughters. And the intra-household gender stereotyping. I told you, intra-household gender stereotyping comes when a family has a son and a daughter. Two sons, okay. Two daughters, okay. But one son, one daughter creates a problem. The gender stereotyping comes. It may not be coming in our generation, but the elder generation which coexist with us, cohabit with us, they will be telling, in our age, we as daughters, we had failed to get such facilities. Don't give the opportunity to the girls now. So this is the mindset we are having. And the 5th National Family Health Survey report of India speaks about the huge digital divide encountered in India. As per the NFS's data, 42% Indian women surveyed have never used internet, compared to 62% men. So women have used internet in comparison to 62% men. And further, women become doubly disadvantaged due to their dwelling size. And as per NFS's data, the percentage of internet use and use of mobile phones is slightly higher among the city dwellers than the rural pockets. As I have told you, that city dwellers are the privileged ones, not the dwellers who are in the rural pockets or in the tribal pockets. A very authenticated policy report states that India herself bears half of the world's gender digital divide. World's 50% of the gender digital divides are housed in India, and only 1/3 of its internet users are women. And the gender digital divide is rooted deeply in the socio-cultural tradition of India, and they also create a tradition for generation to come, which will create greater gender inequality. It reflects a major facet of gender discrimination faced by women and girls in India. It indicates denial of digital space, often thought to be a public space for girls and women, because digital space is again taken as a public space. And it is said that the socio-cultural tradition, the mindset says that women should not be given a position in that space. And normative structures decide the technology used in the household. You might have gone through the articles that came during the period of the COVID, that how in UP, in Haryana, in Rajasthan, when online education was going on, the girls could not join the classes. The dropout rates were very, very high among them. Child marriages were occurring. There was and UN declared domestic violence as a pseudo-pandemic along with this pandemic. So all these things were going on. And this happens, the gender-directed public-private dichotomy. So in the private sphere, because digitalization is an exposure to the woman to the outer world. So in order to debar her from putting on the public space, she is not given the digital device. And to give an example, in the state of Uttar Pradesh, for instance, in the age group of 15 to 19 group, 70% of the young boys access internet services regularly as compared to only 33% of women. And this was given by the Population Council of India in 2020. And in the same vein, the patriarchal nature of the process, online violence against women and girls, that is the cyber crime we are telling, because women and girls become victim to cyber crimes. So digitalization is not accorded to them, and language barriers and inability to comprehend the online languages, they were some of the strong reasons of digital divide. And this digital divide took a further ugly turn during the pandemic. The existing culture of patriarchy, the gender divide and discrimination, lack of property rights, low income among women in large measures deterred their access to these digital phones during the pandemic. Job losses among men limited their capacity to recharge the cell phones, their own cell phones. So recharging the cell phones of their women counterpart was again a difficult proposition, and the limited availability was converted into zero availability during the COVID period. Because during the COVID period, what happened? There was loss of jobs, there was the loss of income flow for many families. So the families which had a digital phone also, they could not recharge their digital phone. So when the men were not able to recharge their digital phones, they were not in a position to recharge the digital phones of their girls and women. And this was backed by two lines of thinking developed by the poor households. They were, the use of cell phone was often taken as an extravaganza for the women and girls, and it would distract them from the care responsibility, because many men complained during this time that if we give cell phones to the women, they will look into the pictures, they will go through the songs, they will see the advertisement, and that will distract them from the care economy, and their prime job is the care economy. So we should not give them the digital phone. See how patriarchy plays a role here. The patriarchal mindset, because purse is always androcentric, I will say. The purse of the home or the monetary, the unit is managed by, is androcentric. It is managed by the men, and therefore women didn't have that right to buy a cell phone, to recharge the cell phone. And the patriarchal mindset that they should be concentrating on the care economy was again deteriorating or deterring their use of cell phones. And children saying that, and they said that with the closure of schools and Anganwadi centers, and that it was found that it was the women who suffered the worst. They could not access the food, they could not go for online registration. And the gender, the second thought was directly related to the gender preferences of the Indian household, where boys' education, boys' exposure, and man's outer world connect is given prima facie significance. They say man is the breadwinner, woman is the homemaker. So man has to be exposed, man has to be educated, man has to be connected to the outer world. So there is no need for digital phone for the women. So all this actually created the great gender divide, digital divide. And if we see this great gender digital divide, how it creates the vulnerability, it increases the vulnerability of women. And during the COVID, India gender digital use surfaced in a great way and contributed to the aggravated vulnerabilities of girls and women, showcasing the deeply embedded gender discrimination. already we had gender discriminations. And during this period, when the digitalization came in a great force, because people were stuck to their homes, and during the lockdown period, the only way to connect to the outer world was through the digital world. But women were not given that opportunity to connect to the outer world. The lockout emergency report on school education made many startling revelations. It took adolescent girls of the country into sample coverage, and from their voices noted that the adolescent girls felt that their access to information was heavily restricted due to the lack of the possession of cell phones. 71% girls admitted that affordability was a big issue for their exclusion from the digital-led sharing of benefits and services. One of the major impacts of digital divide was noted on the learning of the girls, and UNESCO estimated that 89% enrolled students were out of schools because of school closure during the pandemic. And of the 1.54 billion children, youth, 743 million were only girl students. It was because of the lack of access to digital devices and digital services. Even before COVID-19, India had 30 million out-of-school children, of which 40% were adolescent girls. A very startling observation was given by the World Bank. When adolescence comes, the world opens for boys. The world sings and closes for the girls. It is rightly true in case of India, because as the girl comes to the adolescent stage, we become so much nagging after them that we try to sing their word, and this became a major reason for recession or regression from the digital world. And the elongated closure of schools put 320 million students in India, which included 158 million girls, and they dropped out from school education. Look at it, Docker Commission was trying to universalize school education, primary education. And thanks to the Right to Education Act, whereby in 2009 there was a revolutionary change, and women, at least on pen and paper, they were getting enrolled. But when the school education transited from physical education to what is called the physical education to what is called the online education, girls were the worst sufferers. Even in colleges, we have found the boys' attendance was better in the online classes than the girls. And it was because of this. And for these girls, online and digital learning was a dream during that time. So it was a dream, it was a nightmare for them. They frantically wanted to go to schools to connect themselves to their friends, to connect themselves to the outer world, but they were not allowed. So on the one hand, many interior pockets, mountain terrains, hinterland, witness connectivity problem. There was in general connectivity problem. Everyone will agree with me, because India was not digitally that strong during the at the beginning of the pandemic. And by that time, we realized the pinch came to India, because many of these areas were not digitally very well connected, and the male children were allowed to go up to the other places where digital connectivity was available, and the girls were prevented from doing so. Boys were coming to the marketplace, boys coming to the common spaces, boys were going to the were going up the mountains to have digital connectivity and to have education. But because of our gender insecurity, parents think, I was telling how the World Bank said that the adolescent sings the world for the girl, opens the world for the boys. This was very much proved due to this digital connectivity. And the prototype was the situation in the marginalized households in the urban pockets. The urban pockets, we cannot say is fully digitalized. In the urban pockets also, intersectionality is there. Come to the slums, there are many houses which had witnessed loss of job, loss of income during the pandemic. This became the situation. And further, in many poor households, digital devices, data packs were made available only to the male children on a dedicated manner, expressing the gender biases in its worst forms. So in its worst forms, digital access to digital world became the worst manifestation of the gender disparity and gender inequality. And this resulted in an upward stride in gender-based learning gaps. And as per the reports of the World Bank and UNICEF, girls attending online classes has seen a huge fallout. And see, whatever progress the government has made, it had the double regression during this period. And that is only because of this small thing that we never had digit all. We had the digit for a few. So this microscopic use of digital like devices made this risk, brought this risk. This is a silent way of sliding the girls away from the system of education. And this is likely to create a risk future for the girls of the country, and which will, what my friend Namita was telling, the whole pipe of the SDG. See, in 2015, we had the SDG, and the world was making a progress towards SDG Goal 5, gender equality. But gender inequality was exacerbated during this pandemic because of this digital divide. And digital literacy and illiteracy and unavailability of digital devices is a prime mover of women's lack of entrepreneurship and SSG participation. We said women were the frontline warriors during COVID-19, because when a risk comes, when a security issue comes, women become our saviors. They are our safety valves. We put them to the front. Whether it is a disaster, you find that the women are the vulnerable among the vulnerables. They are doubly disadvantaged. Being a woman, being belonging to the group, poor group. And therefore, what happened? That the SSG participation, which was again a measure to empower the women, to bring them into the mainstream, to bring them into public life, that also suffered. They could not procure their raw material. They could not do their SSG activities production. They could not go for money lending. They could not go to the market. Their market connectivity was lost. And see how a small two words, digital divide, then brought them the gender equality. We were marching ahead, and that has brought us so much back. It has actually pulled us back like anything. As you know, when there is a cyclone comes, or tornado or tsunami comes, the sea regresses, and now the sea has regressed there through this digital divide. So we will be the people, we will be the generation, we will be bearing the worst consequences of it. The gender-based digital divide again has become a deterrent to the women and girls' access to government-sponsored security benefits. During that period, again, many security benefits like old age pension to Janani Shuraksha, this is the NHRM, so the ration or Annapurna scheme, they were also digitalized. Women could not enroll themselves. I will give you a very good example because of writing a paper for a conference in France. I was looking at the vaccination. In COVID vaccination, women could not put themselves in the digital platform, and therefore the vaccination number was also very less among women in comparison to men, and women were more susceptible to COVID-19 during that period. And another cruel phase of digital divide manifests itself in the incapability of women to fight against domestic violence. There was a frustration among men because of job loss, because of reverse migration, because of income loss, and getting confined to their homes. And even declared as a pseudo pandemic, but pseudo pandemic was, I will tell you, the NCW, the National Commission for Women, had opened a toll-free number, but even if it was going on in a very, like a wildfire, domestic violence was continuing, women could not register themselves in the toll-free number because of this digital illiteracy. So the digital illiteracy divide has become a powerful force to keep them aside from the system of education, from employment market, from the security benefits, and this is going to negate empowerment to this community. On the other hand, insecurities of myriad forms, physical, social, emotional, food, health, have grappled them due to their limited digital access. So now therefore the theme of this year, I want to say, submit here, that because the theme of this year is very, very important, because by seeing the worst phases of COVID-19 and the digital, how lack of digital literacy has exacerbated gender inequality, the UN has very appropriately made this theme digit all. And I will bring a very small quote of Abdul Kalam here: empowering women is a prerequisite for creating a good nation. When women are empowered, a society with solidarity is assured. Empowerment of women is essential as their value system leads to the development of good family, society, and ultimately a good nation. So we need to empower women. Empowerment of women, not through employment, not through ensuring social security, because they are like giving charity to them. I have told you, this is the day where we have to understand our full potential. We have to literate ourselves digitally. And so social scientists are very much vocal about the transformative impacts of digitalization, and gender activists also take this digitalization for gender equality. They look into the social deliverables like reducing risk, bringing equalization, empowerment, creating an enabling environment for the social milieu. On the whole, digitalization is conceptualized and convinced to be a great booster to the process of development. And it is high time now to realize the need for creating a digital space for women. Lessons learned from the pandemic establishes that digital inclusion of women needs to be the forward-ranking agenda of women's empowerment. We need now, when we make the empowerment agenda, 24 election is coming. I hope the government should take it as the priority area in its agenda. And estimates say that 3/4 of all jobs by 2050 will be related to STEM areas, that is science, technology, engineering, and maths. Yet, women are underrepresented in STEM areas. Only 22% of women hold positions in artificial intelligence related roles, and therefore women must be encouraged to be a part of the digital innovation process. So innovation and technology are the great movers of change, and to be there, in order to change themselves and to become change makers, women need to be digitalized, and women need technology for the same reason as men do. So the needs are not different. The needs are one and the same. And to increase their employment chances, developing marketable skills, taking part in informed decision making, networking process, advertising themselves as individuals, and for pleasure, they need to be digitalized. To engage in modern society on an equal footing, women need technology, and that technology is nothing but digital technology. So the adoption of the theme demands that some strategies we have to take up. The first one is women's access to and control over digital resources need to be considered as a key area to reduce women's vulnerabilities, making them resilient. Women need not be taken as only vulnerable. They need to be resilient by self, they need not require others' support. And for this, adequate digital literacy programs need to be launched, and digital education needs to be a part of the curriculum and the primers right from the beginning of their school days, because we know many girls do not see the colleges also after seventh secondary education, and once they attain puberty they are withdrawn from education. So right from the beginning, if we digitalize them, they can do it. Nothing is a rocket science. Digital education is not a rocket science. I will give you a very good example. There is a western part of Bangladesh. There is they say it is the in the rain shadow regions, and there was no it was suffering from recurrent famine. And during that period, Oxfam took up a project, and a girl named Priya from Oxfam, she was telling me they gave digital devices to the girls over there, girls and women, and they told, no, we do not know the use, but they started listening to music, seeing the drama and all these Bengali films. So she told, when you are doing so many things, we will give you very small tips, use them. They started doing kitchen gardens. They started doing seasonal plantations, and through that they could earn a lot. And that rain shadow region, the famine, the effects they were actually, which was actually affecting women in a great way, because they were not migrating with the family. So that ensured them security. So this is the effect of digitalization. And there is an urgent need to share knowledge and information in the local language, because many of our digital information come in English language. Vernacular language has to be developed into, and it should be assimilated into the digital space, so that women can easily take it up, and they will take it easily, they will understand it. And the local infrastructure needs to be strengthened to provide free subsidized Wi-Fi access to poor households, which will reduce the financial considerations, will allow women and girls to use internet services. Unless and until the common facilities are given Wi-Fi, they cannot go for Wi-Fi services. And the institution of cyber clubs with women digital teaching training agenda by CSRs. We have got so many industries. How many industrial CSRs? They go with stereotypes, educating girls, giving them some training, giving them creating hospital facilities for them, but digital education they never give. So they should create cyber clubs with young girls who can motivate our elder generations, and there will be universalization of digital education. And the existing normative orders and androgenic exclusivity, monopoly over digital resources need to be broken. That because the man owns the purse, therefore the man is the owner of everything, and digital resources still taken as a male monopoly. That has to be broken. So there is a need to defreeze the normative order which creates this gender inequality, creates digital divide accentuates gender inequality. So today, a gender responsive approach to innovation, technology and digital education can increase the awareness of women and girls regarding their rights and civic engagement. Advancements in digital technology offer immense opportunities to address development and humanitarian challenges to achieve the 2030 Agenda Sustainable Development Goals, and therefore, thus, the need for inclusive and transformative technology and digital education is therefore crucial. Let us all of us take the place, and let us be a part of the mission, so that digital technology and innovation for change will certainly come. We should be optimistic to that. With this, I just sign up. Thank you. And if you have any query, you can ask me. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. So may I request our house, any question? Do you have any question to ask? Madam has rightly said the language, the local language must be given top priority, and Wi-Fi facilities must be available for the women's, particularly the low group, that is low income group, and many more suggestions he has given because he has wide experience on it. So I think if you have any question, you can put your questions on the chat box so that we can go through it. So to build up a prosperous, a developed economy, so the women must be empowered with technology, what she said. But they will create new innovation, not only to bridge up the gap, I mean the gender equality should not be reduced by themselves only. It is also part of the job of the men side, who should accelerate and gear up the thing by providing some opportunities, some skills, and some materials to them, and force them. And it is all about the willingness of the women to become a DJ lady, because it's not so easy. At the time of this corona, we could able to first start up with this Google Meet and all this virtual meet. I'll set an example before you people. On the first day, that is on November 11, July 19th, I have organized the first webinar 2020. On that day, I have no idea how to operate and how to speak and how to open even. And my guest was Mr. Subrat Bakchi. I was little scared. I asked a person, a physics professor from Centurion University, and he told me, I'll help you, but I need some money. And I paid for that. And nobody can imagine how much money I have paid for that. And from that day onwards, I promised to learn all digital things. And today I could able to do all the things very, very easily. What I mean to say, if we have a aim, we have a objective to reach that aim, then definitely we'll find some steps. And that will be very easy for us because I have a willingness to do that. So for that, I think Vijaya ma'am from Assam, do you have any question? Sonu Bhaiya, a journalist from Bihar, do you have any question?
हमारी आवाज जा रही है दीदी?
Yes.
मैं हिंदी में बोलूं?
बोलिए।
पहले तो नवनीता मैम को मेरा चरण वंदन है। आपने बहुत सारी बातें सामने आई। मैम मैं एक बात आपसे, मेरा सवाल ये है, जैसे बेटों के लिए एक शब्द यूज होता है, हम लोग महिला दिवस पर चर्चा कर रहे हैं। बेटा, जैसे गार्जियन को मैं बराबर सुनता हूँ, बोलते हैं जब वो अच्छा करता है, ये मेरा बेटा है, मगर ये बेटी के लिए ये चीज यूज नहीं होता है। और आज भी महिलाएं तो वास्तविकता में पहले से ज्यादा बेटर की है, हर फील्ड में, हर सेक्टर में, मगर आज भी मुझे लगता है वो समानता की अब तक नहीं मिल पाया है। जो समानता मिलनी चाहिए वो भी अनछुआ है। तो इस पर हमें आप कुछ बताएं अपने थाउट, क्योंकि ये मैं देखता हूँ बहुत सारी फील्ड में आज भी महिलाएं जो मतलब जो एक पुरुष से ज्यादा महिलाएं करती हैं वर्क को। अगर महिलाएं चाहें तो घर भी संभाल लेती हैं, महिलाएं चाहें तो अपने दुकान भी संभाल रही हैं। तो ये सब सारी चीजें मतलब देख करके ये लगता है एक पुरुष, उसके बाद भी पुरुष की उपेक्षाएं उसको सहनी पड़ती है। ये हमारे अंदर आत्मा का क्या हो चुका है, हम पुरुषों का आज भी हम समानता की भावना से नहीं देख पाते हैं। अभी अगर कोई मामला आ जाए किसी महिला और पुरुष के साथ, तुरंत भर में उस पुरुष से ज्यादा सवाल एक महिला से उठना स्टार्ट होता है। शुरुआत वहां से हो जाती है। उस वक्त ही हमारे पास ये महिला दिवस एक दिन की चीज नहीं, हर दिन ये एक दिन दिवस मना लेने से महिला दिवस संपन्न नहीं हो जाएगा। और ये समानता की भावना हमें लगता है जब तक अपने विचार को बदला नहीं जाएगा, जब तक हम पॉजिटिव नहीं सोच पाएंगे, अपनी मानसिकता को नहीं बदलेंगे, तब तक कुछ भी नहीं किया जा सकता है। आज लड़कियां महिलाएं ड्रेस पहनती है, उस पर भी कमेंट, तो ये सब चीजें सोच बदलनी होगी। और ये सोच ये कुंठित है, ये हमारे समाज में ये चीजें देखने को मिलते हैं। मैं तो मीडिया जगत से हूँ, मैं ज्ञानी नहीं हूँ। जो मैंने देखा है समाज में उतार चढ़ाव जो पढ़ता हूँ, आप लोग का सुनता हूँ। नमिता मैम बराबर नए नए विषय लेकर आती हैं और नए नए विषय के बीच में चर्चाएं होती हैं। कुछ भाषाएं समझ में आती हैं, कुछ भाषाएं नहीं भी आती, मगर फिर भी मैं बैठता हूँ। सुनना चाहिए। हम युवाओं की सबसे बड़ी कमी अब एक चीज तो हुई है कि सुनना छोड़ दिए हैं, सुनना ही नहीं चाहते। तो नहीं सुनना चाहते हैं तो आज नवनीता मैम कब तक, आप कब तक बोलेंगी? हम युवाओं को भी तो बोलने का अवसर मिलेगा। तो लेकिन जब तक सुनेंगे तब तो अध्ययन करेंगे तब तो। हम इससे बहुत वंचित हो चुके हैं। ये सकारात्मक दिशा में चलना होगा। अब मान लीजिए आज महिला दिवस पे जो चर्चाएं हुई, मुझे एक चीज बस इस पे हमको बताइए मैम कि आज भी जैसे जब बेटा अच्छा करता है तो लोग कहते हैं वाह मेरा बेटा अच्छा किया, मगर अगर बेटी भी अच्छा कर रही है तो उसको भी कहा चलो मेरा बेटा ही है। मतलब बेटी अच्छा कर ली तो उसको भी बेटा का साथ। ये क्यों नहीं कोई कह रहा है कि ये बेटियां, ये मेरा बेटी है। हम बेटों के लिए भी बेटी शब्द का उपयोग होना चाहिए, क्योंकि आज हम भी यहाँ पे हैं तो एक महिला से ही यहाँ पे जितने भी सारे लोग एक महिला से ही है। तो ये उपचार, ये मतलब ऐसे भावना, अभी भी असमानता, जब तक समानता नहीं होगा तो बहुत सारी महिलाएं बहुत कुछ कर चुकी हैं। हमारे देश में महिलाएं ने जो खूंटा गाड़ा है ना, शायद अब तक पुरुषों की अपेक्षा बहुत पीछे हैं पुरुष। महिलाएं बहुत कुछ कर चुकी हैं, बहुत कुछ आज कर भी रही हैं। इस पर बताएं मैम।
So, Sonu Kumar ji, you are a journalist, and I will tell you that we have got such mindset. We have to change the mindset first, because till now we are telling the birth of a girl child is not that welcome in a family. The very moment we will welcome the birth of a girl child, we say, "Oh, beti hui hai." So once a girl comes, she has got a daughter, and I don't know that whether the mother is actually very much disappointed, but the people around her, surrounding her, they say, no, she has got a daughter, perhaps as if they are taking the burden of the daughter. While we are telling, because we think the daughter is a burden from security point of view, from financial investment. You have told that many girls have come to the play field now. They are doing pretty well. If a boy who is unemployed and he is taking at least a bike as a dowry, a girl who is working, she should also take the dowry. At that moment, you will see the equation will change. If the daughter becomes a monumenting thing for the family, because the family thinks, I have just made my daughters very qualified, but they are serving some other family. That is the reason for which they say. And the son who doesn't do anything but gets a hefty amount of dowry. So parents think that they are the people who are filling up my Ratna Bhandar. So that's why people think like this. But if this dowry thing will be over, number two, girls will be given the same security, physical security, I'm telling, just like boys. If the boys can move, why not the girls? Because we create a world, so much terrorized world for a girl. The girl cannot also breathe and cannot have a space. You must be remembering about the Me Too movement. The way it came in a great way and the way it fizzled out, you look at it. So just why there is no need for any law. If we can change the mindset ourselves, charity begins at home. At home, if we can change, you take your own profession, journalism. You go back to the 1980s, 90s. I didn't find only on the desks girls were the sub-editors, but they were not going to the field. And only there is the Barkha Dutt. She had gone during the Kargil war, and we were all celebrating her. So if why not a girl? Because security issues are there. And do you know, in the countries where the conflict is going on, the worst affected become our women. The American soldiers, when the husbands die, they go on actually exploiting physically the woman. And this was the situation through which we, in India, we started with three things. One is put, that there is a hell, imaginary hell, and it is the sun. If he gives us the pinda, then we will be getting salvation. That is the put. Then the second thing was the parda. Parda came because with the invasion of the Islamic people, and during that period when the kings were dying, why the widows, they were going for sati, because they were also exploited. So that was the reason. And the third is the property rights. Women do not have property rights. The very day you will find that the women have their own property rights, you will see the scenario will have a topsy-turvy change. So these three things. So first of all, the iman, nobody has seen whether there is a hell or not, where if you do not beget a son, you will be put into the hell. Nobody has seen. It is only going on. So you journalists, you can, through your strong write-ups, you can change this mindset. And that will bring, certainly it will bring changes. And girls, I told you the instances. We should, why we say my daughter is like a son, because we have heard during the giving birth to a daughter that they have got a daughter. So as if the daughter is nothing, and it has brought misfortune to the family. So if you take that the girl brings fortune to the family just like a boy, so whether they are the children of God and God has given a child to a family, we should celebrate that. With that, we will see that the things will have a change.
Yes. Yes, namaste, ma'am.
थैंक यू मैम, आपने बहुत ही बारीकी बातें बता दी आपने, धन्यवाद। जो मन की उलझने थी आपने मेरी सुलझा दी, इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
No, it's
उदाहरण
not
दीजिए
okay.
अभी
No, I was also
हाँ,
interested to answer.
हाँ, मैम अभी तो देखिए हमारे वर्तमान में एक जीता जागता उदाहरण है हमारी राष्ट्रपति मुर्मू मैम। अभी जो वर्तमान में हमारे सामने है, वर्तमान में कितनी सारी प्रताड़नाओं के बीच में एक उभरती हुई राज्यपाल, उसके बाद राष्ट्रपति और कर रही हैं। उनकी मैं इतना मतलब सुनता हूँ, उनका हर दिन कहीं ना कहीं कार्यक्रम, राष्ट्रपति हैं उनका तो कार्यक्रम होते रहता है। मैं शौक से जब देखता हूँ कि नहीं मैम आज कहीं जाकर के कहीं लेक्चर दे रही हैं, कहीं भाषण उनकी होने वाली है, मैं सुनता हूँ उनका, क्योंकि मैं जब भी सुनता हूँ वो जमीनी बात बोलकर निकलती है। हर बात जब भी बोलती है एक जमीनी बात होती है उनकी हर बात में। लगता नहीं कि कोई राष्ट्रपति एक भाषण दे रहा है। जब वो बोलती है तो नहीं लगता कि एक राष्ट्रपति कोई भाषण दे रहा है, वो जमीनी बात बोलकर निकलती है।
No, she talks very realistic things because she is a lady who has struggled a lot and who has actually covered all the hurdles. She has crossed the hurdles to reach at this apex position. So the way she tells, because she tells real life stories, she doesn't talk about hypothetical stories. When she talks about her own life stories, they are, you look at Kalam, you look at, these were the people who were not born with silver spoons in their mouth, but they are now with silver spoons in their mouth. So that is why we should celebrate such women.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
madam, Vijaya madam, you had some question?
No, ma'am.
प्रीति मैम का हम
Pranam. But I want to say that we should change our mindset, and equality begins at our home. Yes. And
Yes, madam. Because as women also, we should not feel that we are deficient. We will feel that we are more than sufficient.
Yes.
If we feel like that, nobody can actually, we will be not only in par, we may excel also sometimes.
Thank you so much. Very good interaction. Now it's time to present a small memento virtually to our guest on behalf of this webinar. and I would like to share it here. Our madam is so nicely explain us and what we can give. Only our love with
No, no,
this
no.
small memento.
It was really a very wonderful experience to be with wonderful people in this evening and to share the feeling, because it was not a lecture, it was an interaction, because we all stand on the same platform, and really because everyone has experience, so it was really very nice. Thank you.
And now this is a small memento with a token of love to you. Kindly acknowledge.
Thank you, Namita madam. Memento is not required for me because you are my friend. That is the best thing, that you have given me this privilege to share my views, nothing like that.
And today, one of the girls, she will be awarded with this certificate. This is the e-certificate. Everyone will get. And now today I'll request Ipsita Mahanti to receive this certificate. And afterwards I will share all the certificates. Thank you very much. Now it's time to propose a vote of thanks. With us, Ma'am Preeti Thakur is with us. May I request Preeti Ma'am, who is the founder director of Educare Institute. May I request Ma'am to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the webinar, please.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to deliver the vote of thanks. Thank you, Mrs. NAVANEETA RATH and Dr. NAMITA PATTANAIK for delivering such a beautiful session. Here I want to say something to Sonu Kumar, journalist. Like, I found him a sensible person. As a boy, I raised a question in the chat box. Is there a man who would like to create something for the women, who would like to change the society? I don't want to become Raja Ram Mohan Rai. I just want a small change at your own. Right? So the charity, as ma'am said, begins at your home. Vijaya madam, she said, charity begins at home. So Sonu will change himself and bring a positive line for the females of his house. And this will how the society will change. It was an awesome session, and I would like to ask one more thing that I feel, that is 100% of the males love their mothers. 75% of the male love their daughters, but less than 25% males support their wives. So your mother is somebody's wife. If she would be, head that way, she would be given the confidence, she would be allowed to show her personality, she would be allowed to, express herself. Perhaps you could get a better, promising mother. All mothers are beautiful, all mothers are good, but you could find her a better woman. So make a change in your life and change the world by making your better halves the better one, right? और अपनी बेटियों को भी अच्छा बनाए. बेटियों को अच्छा तभी बना पाएंगे, कॉन्फिडेंस तभी दे पाएंगे जब आपने अपनी पत्नी को कॉन्फिडेंस दिया होगा और पत्नी को राइट्स दिए होंगे, तो वो भी अपनी बेटी को अपने जैसा नरिश कर पाएगी. कैसे एक कॉन्फिडेंस से डाउन लेडी अपनी बेटी को कॉन्फिडेंट बनाएगी, आप सोचिए. ये सोचने का विषय आपका है. Most of the women stay at home and most of the females go out. तो आप कितना नरिश कर लेंगे? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. My fair lady built it up with iron bars, iron bars, iron bars. My fair lady. आपने सुना होगा. यानी कि संस्कृति बनाने का काम हर देश में, लंदन से लेकर के अमेरिका से लेकर इंडिया तक सब जगह फीमेल का ही है. तो जब वो काम उसका है संस्कृति बनाने का, तो संस्कृति का कतई ये मतलब नहीं है कि तुम सांस्कृतिक होने के नाते सिर्फ तुम छुप जाओ घूंघट के अंदर. नो, उसका मतलब है कॉन्फिडेंस. ऑल द women should be confident enough, right? तो ये आप लोग, मैंने जैसा बोला, राजा राम मोहन राय नहीं बनना है आपको. सिर्फ आपको अपने घर के हर फीमेल को आज से, जब आज से जाएंगे ना, तो उनको झिड़केंगे नहीं छोटी छोटी बात पर, अरे तुम्हें कुछ नहीं आता. डोंट से लाइक दैट. से सीख लो, आ जाएगा, आ जाएगा, तुमको आ सकता है. लाओ मैं बताता हूं. This is how your family will change. This is how the society will change, right? And I would really love to say कि नवनीत मैम जो है, नवनीता मैम, she is a lady Google for today's session. और बहुत अच्छा उन्होंने समझाया. मैंने गूगल बोला और मेरा गूगल बोला yes मैम. So you know, a salute, a big salute to Namita Rath ma'am. I would call you a lady Google, right? Because you said a lot about the women that I think I have passed 53 years of my age. Still, I could not see such a lengthy speech, flawless speech as you gave today.
Yeah.
Right? And next time, I would love if the session would be more interactive, more males and females, and everybody should not only be the listener, should also be the participants.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It would be a lovely session because listening a speech doesn't matter a lot, but participating in the, forum matters a lot. It means your mind is changing. Your mind is changing.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for being with us, and thank you ma'am. Thank you everybody, the respectable members. I am very new today. It is the first day I have joined the session, and I don't know if anybody is missing. I am extremely sorry for that, and thanks a lot.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, Priti ma'am. Now
Yes.
you become one of the family member of this webinar team.
Oh, love to be.
We are very happy to get you. Sure.
Oh my God. Chitranjali just messaged me and I thought, if it's on Women's Day, why not to attend? Let us attend. So I was doing some work on my mobile, and besides that, I was listening, but then I thought, leave the mobile apart and listen to them, what they are saying. Yeah.
It's
Thank you.
not your desire, it's desire of the God.
कोरोना काल ने एक नया अवसर हम लोग को दे दिया है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
और
बिल्कुल.
अगर ये प्लेटफॉर्म नहीं होता, गूगल मीट, जूम पर जिस तरह से लोग पूरे कोरोना से लगातार अब तक झूम रहे हैं, तो ये चीजें, ये जो मिल रही है ना, हम तो बिहार में हैं और बिहार में बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटी और बहुत सारे कॉलेज हैं, बट ऑनलाइन सेशन नहीं. यहाँ का तो एजुकेशन के मामले की बात ही नहीं किया जाए तो ज्यादा अच्छा है. और मैं आपको बता दूं कि मैंने जो पूरे मास कम्युनिकेशन का मैंने पढ़ाई किया, पीजी से पत्रकारिता का पढ़ाई किया, तो मैंने कोरोना काल से पहले एडमिशन करवाया, तुरंत लॉकडाउन लग गया. लॉकडाउन लगने के बाद सारा मेरा कार्यक्रम अब मतलब ऑनलाइन क्लास. जब पढ़ना शुरू किया, लेक्चर सुनने का आदत बनाया, क्योंकि सुनना जरूरी था. सुनना स्टार्ट किया आप लोगों के बीच आकर. मुझे एक चीज समझ में जरूर आया पूरे सुनने के दरमियान में, व्यवहारिकता एक बहुत बड़ी चीज होती है. आप किसी पद पर बैठ जाए, पोस्ट पर बैठ जाए, मगर जब आप में व्यवहारिकता होगी ना, आप में संवेदनाएं होगी ना, तो आप हमेशा पॉजिटिव दिशा में ही काम करेंगे. अभी वर्तमान में मैं पत्रकारिता करता हूं, मैं यही समझता हूं सकारात्मक में समाधान प्रधान पत्रकारिता करना है. सीधा सीधी बात है, समस्या प्रधान पत्रकारिता नहीं करनी है. हमें समाधान प्रधान पत्रकारिता करनी है. बहुत सारे लोग दहेज प्रथा पर, बाल प्रथा पर बहुत सारे लोग कार्य कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारे. हम जैसे मीडिया वर्गों को चाहिए कि उन लोगों को दिखाएं, क्योंकि बहुत सारी महिलाएं हैं जो लगी हैं, काम कर रही हैं, बड़े बड़े एनजीओ के कान काट कर रखी हुई है, लेकिन उन्हें दिखाने वाला कोई नहीं है. मैं नमिता मैम से हर बार इस बात का चर्चा करता हूँ, बट ये कारण है ना, ये पीआर का समस्या है. पीआर के लिए पैसे नहीं है उनके पास, और हम पत्रकार बंधु लगे हैं मंत्री और संतरी के पीछे, डीएम और एसपी के पीछे, और हम उसे छोड़कर पूरे कोरोना काल से लगातार हम आप लोग के बीच में बैठे हैं. क्योंकि आपने जो बताया है ना उसमें जमीनी काम दिखाने के लिए मेरे पास बहुत सारी चीजें जो मैंने ऑब्जर्व कर ली है। अब कुछ दिनों के अंदर मेरा भी वेबसाइट न्यूज का चालू होने वाला है। बिहार से स्टार्टअप होगा, पूरे देश का सफर करूंगा। और ये मेरा तैयारी इसलिए है क्योंकि मैं आप लोग के बीच आकर कुछ संवाद का कार्यक्रम करूंगा। नमिता मैम को मैंने बताया था, बहुत जल्द आप लोग से अभी जो मैम ने लेक्चर दिए हैं, जो बताए हैं, मैं उनसे उनका नंबर भी लूंगा और उनसे भी एक सेशन अपने चैनल पे करवाऊंगा। डिबेट नेताओं का मैं नहीं सुनता हूँ, राज्यसभा टीवी देखकर खोलकर बैठकर देख लेता हूँ, क्योंकि डिबेट नेताओं का सुनना मुझे पसंद नहीं है। मैं पत्रकार हूँ, प्राइवेट चैनल का डिबेट देखना मैंने हाथ जोड़ लिया है। मैं राज्यसभा टीवी देख लूँ, दूरदर्शन देख लूँ, ज्यादा मेरे लिए कारगर होता है, मगर प्राइवेट चैनलों का हाल सबसे ज्यादा बुरा है। रिकॉर्डिंग भी हो रही है, मैं खुलकर बोल रहा हूँ, सबसे ज्यादा बुरा है।
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to stop recording here.